Class discussions are not something that are typically part of engineering education. Usually you can imagine, students imagine engineering classes as being, I'm going to come in, I'm going to learn the theory, I'm going to apply the theory, I might be in the lab building something, making something, designing something, but we don't talk about it. We don't spend time discussing the implications of our work. We don't spend time thinking about the ethical practices that we may or may not agree to or agree with. As part of Engineering 101, the students spend a lot of time in discussions, and it's very different, and it's not what they expect. I hear that on course reviews. This class is not what I thought it would be, and that can be for better or for worse. Some students don't like it, and some students really appreciate it. So integrating those discussions in, for me personally, has been really challenging because it's not something that I did when I started teaching engineering. It was, I was focused on the technical just like everybody else, making sure I teach the students about, forces and those sorts of things and design. But as I progressed, I realized I need to make space for these discussions. And, the case of bias in design, let's talk about that. How does it show up and what does it look like and how does it impact people? And how does it impact people unfairly or differently? And what does that mean as engineers? And what is our responsibility to the public when we design something new or we come up with a new product? And we have to talk about that. And the earlier we talk about that, the more awareness students develop. But for me personally, it was challenging to provide the framework for students to discuss these type of topics in a way that was productive and educational. So the way that I approached that over time was, with my technical mindset, I created worksheets and I created discussion prompts and I created a framework that would allow students to dive deeper into the discussions. So there's a lot of things we do at the beginning of the course that help to set the stage for productive discussions in the classroom. There's, we create class norms, and that's a great place to start of saying, like, how do we feel about talking to each other? How do we create space for authentic conversations? One important aspect of guiding discussions in my class is to provide the time that students need to talk about things. So sometimes I'm in class and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm up here not doing anything. And it's been a really long time. But my students are so engaged, and giving them that time to engage in these conversations is really what takes that to the next level of understanding of the nuances that are involved in engineering and design and innovation. One of the things we do in Engineering 101 is we talk about a day in the life of an engineer, because students often don't know, they don't understand what engineers do. And I get that question over and over and over again. And I think that does help tie back to creating a welcoming environment, because it creates this connection between, what you're envisioning your future career to be and what it could look like. And so we try to highlight different people and profile diversity in the job, and not just diversity in gender or race, but also in the job itself. So where are people going? What are they doing? Where's their focus? And I think starting in a first year class where you talk about your identity, or you talk about the importance of diverse perspectives, and you talk about what the stereotype of an engineer is and why that's hurtful and harmful. And so creating space for students to question the status quo of engineering, I think helps create a more welcoming classroom, but also improves the welcoming environment of them as future professionals, right? So helps them lead the way of saying, it doesn't have to be that way. I don't have to look like that or be like that or be this certain way to be successful in engineering. So we spend a lot of time creating space for that in different ways. Sometimes it's really nuanced. Sometimes it's just saying we all communicate in different ways. I ask you to engage in this class. For some of you, that may look like raising your hand and answering questions all the time. For others, it may look like, a comment to your teammate about the way you felt today after learning about, a case study of bias. It's important to share who we are, because that's going to help us create better design ideas, innovations, and solve problems that work better for more diverse populations.